Hello everybody and welcome to How Bad Can It Be, the series where I take a look at some of the worst games on Steam so you don't have to. I'm Vivid Shim and today we're casting back to the 90s to look at the first of the Bubsy 2-fur pack, Bubsy in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Released by Accolade Entertainment and published by Retroism in 1993, Bubsy was Accolade's answer to Mario and Sonic in an attempt to throw a hat in the ring of the early 90s platformer, the bread and butter of the console wars at the time. With that being said, let's jump on in. So what is Bubsy? Well, as the Accolade splash screen says,
Bubsy, 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 Bobcat!
That's right, Bubsy is a bobcat. No, not that kind of bobcat, this kind of bobcat. So the animal in question, I would say, is fairly cute. A decent choice for a mascot character. I don't know why they felt it necessary to give him the shirt though. I guess because Sonic had shoes, though I'm not quite sure. With that said though, let's quit yapping and get right into the gameplay. So the game itself is a platformer where you jump and run your way through various obstacles, picking up collectibles and avoiding or killing the various threats along the way. The exclamation point at the top left is Bubsy's score for that level, which you increase by collecting these balls of yarn or breaking these boxes of yarn. You also get them from killing enemies by Super Mario stomping them into oblivion. Speaking of these enemies, they are just one of the many obstacles in this game, and one hit and you are dead, my friend. This does lead to some frustration when you can hit an enemy who you couldn't even see. That does, however, lead me on to the deaths into this game. I actually really like the different animations for it. Like this one, for example, where Bubsy shatters like glass, or this one here where he starts seeing birds because of falling damage. Oh, you didn't know there was falling damage in this game? Well, yeah, that does seem to be one of the things people bring up in anguish about these games.
Falling damage in a platformer?
They scream. It honestly isn't that bad though, and it's quite an interesting choice. Falling damage is something that someone would add to a contemporary indie platformer to make it more treacherous and to make it so a player needed to practice and hone his skills more. In the case of Bubsy, it does come to being a slight annoyance. This was an era where platformers were all the rage and the basic rules were set in stone. Throwing a curveball like this is understandably a bit of a dick move for back then, but we aren't reviewing it with back then in mind, we are looking at today. So does falling damage make any sense for the Bobcat? Let's compare it to his two more famous cousins. Mario is a character that is clearly defined for his jumping ability, so it's pretty safe to say that he would have an immunity to falling damage, otherwise his ability is kind of nullified. That would, however, make for an interesting hard mode. You're welcome, Nintendo. Sonic, on the other hand, goes really fast, like incredibly fast. He's gotta go fast. So it surely makes sense that Sonic would have to resist all the forces that are working against his small hedgehog frame, so I don't think gravity's gonna do much to him either. But Bubsy, well, as we stated earlier, Bubsy is a bobcat, so he's gonna have some resistance to fall damage, but clearly he isn't Mr. Spring for Legs or the Flash's school pet over here. I mean, just look at how far I actually fell too. It's a decent distance, so I'd say fall damage is fairly acceptable in that regard. Now, maybe it shouldn't be implemented into a platforming game at all, and it did indeed get on my nerves more than I care to admit, but it's really not as big of a deal as everyone claims it to be. It's fairly avoidable with his ability to glide anyway. For the time, this was pretty brave of Accolade, adding an element that goes against the formula of platformers such as falling damage. This game also plays with your expectations pretty well. From these water sections which render you helpless as this music plays over top, these cars which just straight up kidnap you, and these gumball machines which look like checkpoints but will actually kill you. The actual checkpoints are these exclamation marks, by the way. You walk past them and it becomes a Bubsy token to signify your progress. The game also has these little caves which Bubsy can walk through to go to different areas. This first one took me back down the mountain because I walked through it in the wrong order, but still. These areas aren't always a good thing though, as some may take you way back as a troll. There is also these manhole covers which can indeed kill you, but it will allow you to go underground and make a new path through the level, avoiding enemies for the most part and collecting more balls of yarn to add to your score. Be careful though, as these areas also have these little water sections which can really mess with you. In my case, it launched me out and nearly to my death. At the end of the level, you have a giant ball of yarn which becomes a Bubsy token, and when you hit it, yarn balls fly everywhere for you to collect as a bonus. Your time and your collected balls add to your score, then congratulations, you have beaten the level and on to the next, rinse and repeat. During my short time with the first Bubsy game, I actually found myself having more fun than I initially thought when purchasing the game. I remember thinking to myself, this would make a decent episode of How Bad Can It Be? Everyone knows it's terrible, yet here I am, actually saying that I had a good time playing it. The music was really upbeat and fun to listen to while jumping my way around the colourful and varied landscape. The enemies, albeit strange and unusual, add an element of a surprise to the world, and although it can lead to some bullshit deaths, for the most part, it adds a strange uncertainty to everything. That being said though, this game does have some flaws. As much as I credited Accolade to mixing things up a little with the development of the game, it's clear that they still took the more formulaic approach in some areas more than others. Bubsy can jump really high like Mario and even spins while in the air a bit more like Sonic. Bubsy also gains momentum as he moves a la Sonic. This is where the whole bullshit death thing comes into play. In Sonic it's fine, as the level is designed and structured to allow for speed and fluid movement. In Bubsy this is a massive hindrance. The levels are built to be explored carefully, especially with all the unexpected enemies and falling damage. The momentum just makes it so you're falling to your death or running into it because of the instant death. The worst in my opinion by far is the slope physics. Bubsy can be on the smallest slope in history and he will slide down that bitch as if there were a big bag of money on the other end. This mixed with the momentum build means you are hitting the brakes all the time, cutting all fluidity in twain. Bubsy really shocked me. I came into this game expecting to feel horrible by the end of it. What I got though was a pretty fun platformer to just chill out and play, smashing any expectations I had coming into it. Sure, as I just pointed out, the game has some flaws and has some very peculiar and somewhat stupid decisions made for it, but most are really easy to look around as it shows some creativity and a clear desire to make something different, which I personally can always appreciate. So that's all I got time for today. Stay tuned for the next episode when we tackle the sequel to today's game, Bubsy 2. At the end of that episode is when I will do the true full reflection of the package as a whole and see if it's worth its price point. So I suppose that leaves me with one question. How bad can it be? And honestly, it's not even bad to begin with. If you have got a game you wish for me to play on the channel / review in this series, let me know by either hitting me up on my Twitter @VividChim or my Steam account with the same name. I hope you enjoy it. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe and hit that little bell to make sure you're kept up to date with all future VividChim videos. I've been VividChim, and I'll see you all soon.